Hello, all you hardcores. Welcome to part two. We're joined by Kent in part two. Women love him, men want to be him. What aftershave do you wear, Kent, at Christmas year? What do you like to splash on?
Hugo Boss.
Hugo Boss, yeah? You
Yep,
smell,
like Hugo Boss.
you smell nice.
Yes, smells all right. Yeah.
Go on, Kent, with Hugo Boss, eh? Is that your phone going off again, Kent? I bet you've got bare minge on the go, haven't you? Go
No.
on, Kent, eh?
I was gonna say my favorite aftershaves, the Matchroom aftershave.
Oh God, not that. Snooker Loopy. Snooker Loopy aftershave.
Definitely not. Bit before my time.
Yeah. Uh Tyson Fury, as I just said at end of part one, they're in a fantastic debate over 40 minutes. We're legendary, aren't we now for time? Uh we're on part two now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ken, Fury's is he selling it now? Because he surely can't be in any fit state to mess with Usyk. He surely must know the game is up and that he's just selling his arsehole now like some brass. Like Wilder's just done.
Yeah, it's that tonight from Wilder
They've been
was
parked up, haven't they, waiting for this money for 2 years, this lot.
it looks like tonight from Wilder looks like a cash out because you just don't go into a fight. Say you have a camp of 8 to 10 weeks or 12 weeks or what it is. I, I, all you would have need to been in would have been camp for a day to know that your balance is gone and you can't actually land big shots anymore.
Yeah,
So they would have knew that going into the fight. They would have known that going into the fight that it's not there. You look at Fury's last performance against Francis. John's come out last week and slated everyone. I'm not a big fan of John. I think that John really has to say, but he's come out on Trump's here. He's come out and he's actually said what we have been saying for basically 2 years. Uh, he's questioned Sugar Hill. He's questioned the conditioning guys.
yeah,
Everybody in that camp he's questioned, and they would have known. They would have known in camp for that fight that it wasn't. The last lot of years you've noticed that Fury's probably last really good herky jerky performance probably would have been the first Wilder fight, even though he was dropped heavily twice. I thought he won that fight. It was a draw, but he used that herky jerky, elusive style, low lead hand, slipping, sliding, really awkward, on his toes, stepping from side to side. Then from that there has been a deterioration. The second Wilder fight, he walked him back. The third Wilder fight, he was dropped multiple times. I don't think he's recovered from that third Wilder fight. Then we had an easy fight against Dillian White. He didn't, Dillian White didn't win a second of any of the round. John even said that wasn't a great performance. Then the Del Boy fight was dreadful. That wasn't a good performance. But in all those fights, he's been planting his feet. He's been sitting on his shots because you know nothing's going to come back. It's going to trouble you. And basically, in that last fight, he was flat-footed as well. He's been dropped multiple times. He's been dropped more times he's had in his whole entire career. Those, getting dropped multiple times, your punch resistance goes, it's head trauma. That's not ideal for your balance. It's not ideal for an evasive, elusive fighter. They would have known that you can't just have a great camp. See all this crap yeah, he had the best camp of his career and he looked brilliant. He was not sending people home every day and sparring. after a week of sparring or a day, if it's there or if it's not there, and they would have known that getting into that fight, that it wasn't there. It either wasn't there or they massively underestimated Francis.
Yeah, well, to me, it looked like his timing were gone and he won't fit.
It looked like both. I think he would have had a degree of fitness to survive it. I think he was probably a 60% fit. If he hadn't have been that 60% fit, I don't think he would have got through the final bell. But a 60% fit doesn't cut the mustard. Not when you're an aging fighter. Every fighter's an aging fighter. From the first day you go into the gym, for year on, your body's aging. You need to change things, whether it's the training, whether you can run every day. Some fighters maybe can only run 3 days a week. Some fighters run 2 days a week. They swim the rest of the week.
That's
Some
the
fighters
most important, though, isn't it? The running, isn't it?
It's aerobic capacity. That what I mean by aerobic capacity is the bigger your lungs are, the more oxygen you get around your muscles.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Some fighters, whether they can spar every day, 4 days a week or 3 days a week, or can they go to the gym and do weight training 2 or 3 days a week? All that has to be managed throughout your career, and that's in any sport. Whether it's athletics, whether it's any other sport, tennis, basketball, rugby, football. All athletes' biological clock is ticking. So you have to find a way to manage it and manage the recovery. That's going to help the fighter perform. And if they didn't notice that in camp, what are these guys doing around them? It's, as John says, they're all backslappers and bag carriers. It didn't look like
he's on outside looking in.
Yeah, that's true. But to be fair to him, he's called it out before. He probably hasn't. But
You think they've just called him in Bud Kent of them over there? You think they've just? I mean, the Caller and them have let him run riot over here, haven't they?
Yeah. I think over there things are a lot different. Over there, we had that press conference. Wasn't even a press conference. It was a Zoom call with one of those YouTube people and Tommy, and that was a disaster. So he's so unpredictable at times. He just goes into John mode and he makes it all about himself. I think over there they're a different kettle of fish over there.
Yeah, it's madness. Right, Bivol, Lyndon Arthur.
I think Dimitri Bivol looked very, very sharp for someone that's been out of the ring as long as him. He had a really bad hand injury. He's had surgery in his hand. I love that style. I love that style. If that's the style you're going to teach someone, that's it. That Russian Soviet style.
Folks boxer, isn't
it? The Soviet style for me is the best style in any system. It's tried and tested. We all talk about the Cuban system, and I'm not a big fan of it. I think when you step into the pro game, I think the Cuban style does not work whatsoever. But when you look at that Soviet system, when they steps across, it crosses over, translate. It is. I've spoken about this before. I think Dimitri Bivol's a top 3 pound for pound fighter. That's my opinion. I look at technically, fundamentally, I think he's one of the best fighters in the world. He's always got you thinking. He leads and then he counters. He creates the rhythm. He breaks it. He leads and counters. He's an exceptional. He's a computer. He just outthinks, outboxes, outfights. He is, for me, fundamentally the best fighter in the world. I thought it was a great performance from him. He's not known as a knockout puncher. You know, he hasn't stopped anyone in 6 years. And light heavyweight, you know, he's 11 defenses now of his WBA title. You know, tonight I actually thought he forced his pace. He forced the pace more tonight than I've seen him in quite a long time. So he was forcing the fight. I thought Lyndon Arthur, basically the game plan was to be on the back foot and not let Dimitri get set to get his shots off. And I think for him winning that fight, he wasn't going to win that fight, but for him getting the 12 rounds, that's a good performance from him.
Yeah. What do you think to the rest of the show?
I felt a bit like you, Russell. I felt like I wouldn't watch him. Oh, sorry. I thought you meant Junior Fa. No, Jay Apathy is a monster, Russell. He is he's a badass. He's a real badass, Russell. I really like him. Yeah, he's a badass dude. You can see it in him, can't you?
Oh yeah. What about Bricktop and Eddie? They're like besties now, aren't they? Where is the love? Where is the love? I mean, what is going on there with them? They'll do anything for a pound.
They have to.
Brassers, won't
they? They have to. They've no choice. You know, you've seen tonight that they've no choice now. It's out of their hands. It's Saudi are in control. They've got the money. They're putting the fights together. You know, obviously Frank Warren had a couple of his fighters on tonight. You obviously see Eddie had a couple of his fighters on tonight. You know, Jay Apathy, out of everybody tonight, for me was the best performance of tonight. I thought he looked like an absolute monster. And to be fair, Russell, you know, there was Fury putting his name in the mix about 6 months ago that he wanted to fight Jay Apathy at heavyweight in Australia. Flip. It's a good job he didn't.
Somebody said something to me yesterday, right? I'm not going to mention his name, but somebody said something to me yesterday. And I said, you know what, you might be right. And he said to me, right, Bricktop and Eddie Hills, basically, they were knackered because they weren't going to work with each other. They could never work with each other in UK. They just don't want to do it. They've not give us one fight a year while Eddie's on a license. Now, they could see the future. And maybe this might be it for big shows. But where does that leave at the heavyweight scene for UK? Are we just going to get British standard and domestic stuff now at UK? Just the shit and all the cream goes over there.
What's going to happen is this is going to be a peak of about. Look what happened. We go back when DAZN came into boxing. Everybody panicked buyed, didn't it? Everybody did. Bob Arum panicked buyed. He jumped in with Frank Warren. They signed Tyson Fury to a crop deal. Not a crop deal for Fury, but a crop deal for them. Overinflated. They spent a lot of money. Did they get it back? Probably not. You even look at the Dillian White purse bid. You know, how many fights was it going to take for that to be generated back? Then you look at what was going on in the UK at the time. All the British fighters at the time who were world champions, they were running the America for the DAZN money. And every fighter that DAZN were promoting, it was inflated. It was the prices were, the purses were 3 and 4 times more than a world champion would get. And obviously that didn't last too long. And what we were getting on Sky was crap. We were getting dreadful fights. I remember Adam Smith basically saying, I remember Adam Smith actually saying on Sky that I don't know if it was on Sky or it was an interview that he'd spoken to Eddie and this can't happen. You know, we can never have a card like that again. It was dreadful. And I remember one of the cards of
Bean. Go on, sorry. I just had a bean moment. Go on.
And I remember that a Coley was on one of the cards, and it was just a dreadful, dreadful, dreadful card. And basically, he basically said, I've told Eddie that we can't have a show like that again. We can't have a card like that again because that's not good enough for the fans. And, you know, obviously, Bob Arum signed a lot of British fighters. Eddie brought a lot of British fighters over to over across the pond to America, and it lasted a while, and eventually they come back. So I see that happening. I see that happening with the Saudi money. It'll be about 3 or 4 years. Then they'll get sick of it because really, Russell, you know, you look at as a business. With I don't care how much money you have as a business, you can have all the money in the world, but if you're putting all that money into something that isn't really generating anything back, you're going to get fed up with it for a while, aren't you? After a while, you're going to get fed up with it.
Yeah, but what do you reckon will happen with Sky? I mean, this is how I look at it, right? He's obviously a bit of a mess at Sky Sports at the moment, and they can't get a decent pay-per-view on for love and money, can they?
No.
20 slots a year. Why don't they give 2 to Ben Shalom, right? 2 to Steffi Bull, 2 to Dennis Hobson, 2 to Joe Gallagher, 2 to Carl Greaves, 2 to Pat Barrett, 2 to Izzy and Ash. No, we're going to say Phil Jeffries then, but he's under his license back in. 2 to Josh Whale, 2 to Steve Wood, 2 to Gary Booth, and do that. Why don't they do that? Hand them out. Give them the TV money, and let's see what other promoters in UK can do with the Sky cameras at the arena that they choose to get. I mean, let's see what they can do. And they pick the phone up and say, we've got 2 Sky slots. Do you want to work with us? It's not rocket science. Then the love can get spreaded, can it? Instead of the same matchmakers coining in the same old faces. There is more to boxing than the certain few promoters and outfits, you know.
Yes, I think that would be hard. I think what you have there is what Sky want and what they need now. I don't think boxing's changed a lot in this last 18 months. Basically with all that crap that the Zone shows, with you know that misfit stuff. So they're ready-made personalities on them cards, and casual fans now aren't buying into developing fighters and fighters building a profile. And the networks basically want a fighter to have name brand value right away, where before you had to have a bit of time and develop your personality, develop your style, develop selling tickets, develop a base, develop a TV friendly audience, develop a TV fighter. They're all things that you need to have and be exciting as a TV fighter. Because boxing now is under so much pressure to deliver, I think the networks now want fighters with near enough with an instant name brand value right away. And I think to have all those promoters over 2 fights a year, I don't think that would be enough to develop name brand value for the fighters or the networks. It's a tricky boxing's in a transition period at the minute, a really, really big transition at the period.
Keeping all the cream over in Saudi. I mean, it's even holding up other fights. You know, they're saying they're going to do 5 shows out there next year. Well, that's going to affect the UK, isn't it?
Not necessarily. I think what Saudi want is they want blockbuster fights. They want they don't want British title level fights. They don't want, pick'em fights at domestic level. They want, you've seen what they've been showing. They want the Wilders, they want the Joshuas, they want the Furies, they want the Usyks, they want the Ngannous, they want the Razmataz. They don't care about domestic level fights. They'll leave that to the UK. I think the positive from it was, I actually think it will force the networks like the Zone, the likes of TNT, the likes of Sky, they actually get domestic level fighters actually fighting each other instead of waiting 3 and 4 years until they're world champions. I think that will force the hand of the domestic level fighters, and the networks will have to make them fights happen a lot quicker now.
Ken, what did you think to that then when them royal pictures came up of Turkey and his pal, his partner in what crime, whatever, and then all that royal music came on and all that. Did you see the licking from them all? They didn't know whether to stand up, did they? And like they sing for Queen or something. Did you see them all looking around? Lickers,
I seen it.
lickers. You know who you are, lickers. You know what I mean? I've seen it, mate. I see. I'll deal with that this week. I'm going to digest that over tomorrow.
I don't think they've a choice. I think where they are, I don't think they've a choice, to be honest with you, Russell. Money or not.
No.
No. No, it's I'm sure they've been told, it's conform. Need to conform and you're over.
So, but we hadn't had a peak out that Bivol. I've not had a peak out Bivol in 10 years, and then all of a sudden he's trying to do a speech for that Turkey at end in broken English. What was all that about?
Yeah, I actually noticed. I actually cut him
I had a
off
peak
because
out him in 10
yeah,
years. Pop, pop,
never,
bang.
never heard him in my life.
Hey, what about? Hey,
Here, did you actually count? Did you actually count how many times anybody says His Excellency tonight?
yeah, 412.
I counted 418.
Oh, more than me then. Well, you must have counted a few extra for the gap because that's all I've heard from the Gad all week. You know what? The Gad must have a sore tongue by now. Gad, your tongue must be sore now. What you need to do, get some TCP and some water and just rinse your mouth out for 30 seconds, as strong as you can take it. Do it
I'm
every
sure they're
night,
exhausted.
strengthen your gums. What?
I'm sure they're all exhausted.
If you're a cocaine user, Gad, what you should do after every session is rinse your mouth out with sea salt and hot water as hot as you can take it. Rinse it out until you've done the full cup. Put loads in, a big spoon of it. That's if you're a cocaine addict. A few tips there for you, all you that like a sniff on a weekend, because no doubt there'll be people sniffed out the brains now while I'm at home. Jealous to death.
Well, it is.
Go on, Kent, sorry.
It's 1:10 in the morning.
We're hardcore, aren't we, Kent?
Yeah. Yeah.
How long have we got left here? 15 minutes. Kent, the situation at the moment with Crusher Ben. I know it's going on and on and on and on, but I haven't really had your take on it because you've not been on for a couple of weeks. What do you think to it?
I don't. I don't really pay
much on it, but what do you think the punishment should be, Ken? We're talking 2 tests here, Ken.
I think any fighter that fails a test should not fight again.
Yeah.
There's no. It's simple as that. I don't care. Who you're promoted by, whatever. Strict liability is strict liability. If you fail a test, you shouldn't fight again. Simple as. That's it. I don't really have an opinion. You know, I think we talk a lot about Nigel's son too much when really he doesn't deserve it. He hasn't fought anyone. Hasn't fought it for domestic title.
Yeah, no.
And he's never going to win one. You know, he's got a privilege. He's Nigel's son.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my opinion. I don't think he's good for boxing. I think how it's been handled is a disgrace. He's running away to all these small commissions and being sanctioned. I think it's an absolute disgrace in boxing. It is a kick in the teeth. It hurts boxing. I'm still waiting on him suing the board. When's he going to sue the board? When's he going to produce this dossier of evidence? We're still waiting, Nigel, son. Let's have it. If you're clear, let's produce the goods. And you know, I've been saying for months, everyone praises Simon Jordan, this and that. I've never seen Simon Jordan at a small hall fight or a non-televised fight in my life. This is a guy that's been criticizing him for months, and now all of a sudden he's taking phone calls and talking to him and this and that. That's another slap in the face, the boxing. So it is that's a kick in the teeth. You know, any credibility Talk Sport had or Simon Jordan had with the whole Fury thing and getting banned from the Ngannou fight and this and that, they've just completely lost it in mind. Spencer Oliver's the same. He's on slating drug cheats, but he's sitting on a couch tickling Big Baby Miller. It's a disgrace. But going back to Nigel's son, I think he should. I think any fighter, regardless of your Nigel Benn son, regardless of whoever, you should be banned for life. That's simple as.
Yeah, and worked out too good for Dad as well because it dug up old wounds with that McClelland carry on at end of that fight. Do you know what I mean? We
Yep.
know what happened at end, don't we? 1 minute he
Yep.
were on cheering and screaming like a banshee. Next minute, we jumped on floor when they were taking him for test, hadn't he?
Said it in the documentary. It's that ITV documentary. I actually sent that documentary to a mate in work today, actually. So it's on that documentary, everything that was said. But we talk too much. You know, boxing, this is what I'm talking about. When you asked me that last question, you said about, you know, this promoter and that promoter. And, you know, boxing's crazy now because there's a guy there that outside of boxing's never been in a fight in his life, didn't win an ABA title, grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth, parents are a millionaire. You know, I don't think he's a fighter inwardly. I think the first fight he gets in, I think the first time he's actually in a fight, you will see the real Nigel Benson. So I don't think he's got it in him. I think he's doing it because it's something to do. You know, it's not like he has to go out and work in a factory for 12 hours a day, like, or work on a building site like some other fighters. I think he's got a massive privilege, and that's the reason where he is now.
Yeah, that's the reason why he's backed into a corner though by Eubank Jr. Because it looks to me like if he wants big money, he's got to fight somebody now. Because he's the only gimmick fight's Kell Brook in it now.
It's very, very smart. From I know I'm going to get slated for this, but I have my own opinions, and I don't really care about what people think. To be honest with you, I'm my own man. I think it's very, very smart from the Eubanks, Chris Eubank Jr., with having very limited ability, has made an awful lot of money. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's made a lot of money. He knows that he can go and sell out an arena against anybody. It'll probably be on pay-per-view, and he'll get a fortune for it. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So you've got Nigel's son. So what is the fight out there apart from fighting one of the big dogs? He's not going to fight one of the big dogs. He is not going to fight somebody on the way up, like Sir Lewis Crockett from Belfast, who I've been talking about for 2 years. I think Lewis would smash him to pieces and dismantle him. So who else is there for Nigel's son to fight? Who else, apart from fighting one of the big dogs, are fighting a really good young and up and coming fighter that's going to destroy him? There's no way back after that. He'll be really exposed really badly against anybody at world level. But what was the fight out there that would have given him money that he's never going to get ever again? Who is it?
Crawford, Aney, maybe Josh Taylor. Maybe that could be built into a big fight. But then they're not able to fight again, are they, with board?
Which fighter out there, apart from them, would generate more money than all them? Eubank?
Canelo?
Eubank? He's the only fighter out of all them names that would quadruple those purses. So it would. A fight against Eubank, I probably say, would be 3 to 4 times more than any of them fights. So it would. It sells out a football stadium, pay-per-views off the charts. So that's the only way he's going to get that money. And the only person that's going to get him it is Eubank. And what did he say to the fight?
No.
There you go.
Yeah, there's eight in the from Eubanks and Earns, and I mean, Earn and Warren are blowing each other off, aren't they? Like little girls. But they're between Eubanks and Earns as hate, isn't there? You can see, can't you?
Oh, it's personal. It's and even between the fathers, you look at Nigel and you look at Senior. There's no love lost between them whatsoever. None whatsoever. It's actually got worse over the years. And I think the only way that Conor Benn, sorry, I even said his name, Nigel's son, ever becomes relevant in boxing is if he fights Eubank Jr. and beats him, or even fights him. He'll get multiple millions. And basically, the Eubanks have just took that away from him, and they've just said, "Nah, it's okay. We don't care. We can go and fight anybody, sell out a football stadium, sell out an arena, get a lot of pay-per-view, get a fortune, and we'll do it again and again and again and again, and we'll sail off in the sunset. The only way you're going to do that is fight me or jump in me a big dog in America." He's not going to do that. There's no way.
No, is he?
So I agree with, if I was Eubank, I would be the same. I wouldn't have took that. Why should you make him relevant? What's he done to earn it? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
He's in driving seat though as regards negotiations, isn't he? We crush a band.
He's one of these guys that he's got a unique deal. He's got a promoter, but he can fight in any network. That's a really unique deal. That's a smart deal. Whatever people want to say about Eubank Jr. and criticize him and this and that, he has made a fortune from boxing.
Yeah.
And he's got a unique deal where he can fight in any platform on pay-per-view and make a fortune. I think that's really smart. Really smart.
Do you reckon Horsecock would have Eubank fighting on Sky again?
That's a hard question, Russell. there'd be no credibility in it, would there? I
What do
think
you
it's got this stage now, Russell. I think it's got this stage now with even Matchroom, and they're saying now, what are we going to do here? We can't bring you to Saudi. You don't get the Saudi money because Saudi's governed by the board. Can't do that. He can't fight in a proper state in America because he hasn't went above the front of the board. He can't fight in UK because he hasn't went in front of the board. And they're saying to themselves, right, what are we going to do? You know, how can we sell this? What way are we going to get through this? Give them a few fights and see where they are in 6 months down the line. But the whole thing's an absolute mess. A mess.
Yeah. It's been a mess from day one, hasn't it, really? I blame Eddie Hills, me, the 6-0 Iceman from Billy.
I don't think it's. I honestly think he hasn't listened to Eddie. I think if he probably would have listened to Eddie, this would have been dealt with. I think he's listening to his manager, his dad, and whoever bag carriers he's got around him, non-boxing people that don't really have a clue about boxing. I think if they sat back objectively, sat back on it, and he would have probably listened to Eddie, I think he would have been fighting by now. Really, Eddie needs him boxing in the UK, selling out arenas, maybe a stadium fight. In America, nobody knows who he is. Nobody really even knows who his dad is in America. Never mind him.
No, you need a
so.
So
I think it's an absolute mess, and I think if he maybe would have listened to Eddie before this, it wouldn't be this bad.
Okie dokie then. Well, listen, thanks for coming on, Kent. Redemption for Daniel Dubois. Well done.
Triple D.
Triple D. Okie dokie. Thanks, Kent.
All the best. Peace out.
Peace out. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. 1:20. Good night. Pop, pop, bang.